Hey, Aiden, it's time to learn some chess.
So, Aiden, what do you think is better, the knight or the bishop?
The queen.
The queen. That's a good answer.
Thank you.
A lot of people say bishop, but there's a lot of situations where the knight is stronger than the bishop. And, when you ask the question, which is stronger than the endgame knight or bishop, then I would say probably most people would say bishop. But again, it really depends so much on the rest of the position. And in fact, in the senior championship, on the middle day of the tournament, I won two knight versus bishop endgames in a row. So the knights were really
Wow.
doing well for me. Yeah. So anyway, I want to take a look at my game against Patrick Wolf from the fifth round, and we reached this position after my 22nd move. And here I have the queen and knight combination against queen and bishop. And they say that the queen and knight is a little stronger because the queen and bishop, they tend to duplicate each other, right? They dominate diagonals, but you can only they could dominate those black squares diagonals, but the white has two pieces that can play in the light squares. Black only has one. So that's usually considered a little advantage. Now in this moment, Patrick played queen c6, and I thought that was a very dubious decision. But actually, the engine says it's really okay. Black should be able to hold this ending. So, after analyzing it, I have to say that that's probably true. But at the same time, Black has to play pretty accurately. All right, so I get this knight on this nice square. See, I lost the dominating d5 square where I was, but now I have a very good square here at c4. King e6. So, what do you think I should do now?
Okay, so there are many possibilities, many options. I've been going through, I've been calculating every single option, the entire
Okay,
board.
give me one.
King f1.
Okay, so get the king in the middle. That's usually a good place to start in an endgame, right? Centralize the king. But of course, I don't want to lose any pawns. So here I start putting pawns on the light squares. So what's good? What's
Pawn
good about
structures.
what's good about putting the pawns on the light squares?
Bishop can't touch them.
Bishop can't touch them. The bishop can only operate on the dark. So we've got this
The
kind
dark
of
side.
we've got this kind of fixed pawn structure, meaning it's kind of locked into place, and that kind of favors the knight. The knight can kind of jump around and attack pawns on light and dark colors. So I put all my pawns on light squares, sort of like reverse checkers. Right? So bishop c5, king d3, and now I put some pawns on dark squares because I'm trying to gain a little space to try to come over and do something on the queen side.
Take some satisfying pawns.
Now,
Awkward silence.
this was an interesting moment because I could have played b5. And honestly, I didn't really think about it too much because, these are fast games and I was trying to maintain time on the clock and I didn't want to commit to trading pawns. A lot of times grandmasters, they decide not to hurry in an endgame, to keep their options open and to look for the best opportunity. But this would have been interesting. And when I started analyzing this after the game, I thought, like, this looks like a good chance to win. But the computer says that actually black is still in the drawing zone here, which is very interesting to me um, because it looks like I can just go in and grab this pawn. But now computer says equal. Well, let's say, why is it equal? Why can just take that pawn? Do you have any idea what black's going to do in this position?
Yes, actually.
Yeah,
Bishop takes.
yeah, and I
King
take.
takes. King to c7.
Ah, so you're trying to box me in there. Yeah, so we just traded into the pawn ending, right?
You gotta liquidate. Just like in this book. Liquidation on the chessboard, new and extended edition.
From
Like the
fine
book.
booksellers everywhere. So anyway, king c7. All right, so The thing is that because I have no reserve pawn moves over here, all I can do is move my king and on my a pawn. If I move my king to a6, he follows me. If I move to a8, he follows me. Goes king c8. So I could push. Then he can actually do anything he wants with the pawns. He can play it like this, f5. He can take, or he can play f4. It's the same. And he just follows me, so I can't get out. I can just go back and forth, but I can't get out. And if I stalemate myself, I'm actually going to lose the game.
You're trapped inside a bubble.
Because then I'm going to have to move a pawn. I'm trapped inside a bubble. Yes, indeed. So I didn't go for that. I played king b3, king d7. But now I missed a good opportunity. I should have played knight c4 first, attacking the pawn. And now I have this plan here and b5. In this situation, I think that this could actually be quite a bit stronger because if he takes, now one thing is that he's committed this pawn up here, so this maybe my king could get to the e6 square. So what I'd kind of like to maybe penetrate with the king in here somehow. So it looks like white is getting some good winning chances. The key to a lot of these endings is to get king position, and the knight often helps get that king position because it can give checks on all different kinds of squares, whereas the bishop can never drive me off of a light square. So
the knight is a lot more versatile.
yeah, but you're going to see later there's some moments that the bishop is better too. So it's not an absolute. All right, so I didn't go for knight c4. It was one of those things where I played a fairly quick move because I didn't want to get very low on time. And it's like almost as soon as I made the move, I realized, oh man, knight c4 first was much better. Because when I played king a4, sort of keeping options open with the knight. But then I noticed that a very solid move he has is bishop d8, and if knight c4, bishop c7, and this sort of kind of takes care of this whole plan I have of penetrating with the king. The bishop keeps it out. But he didn't do that. But even so, his bishop e3, this was okay as well.
Okay.
Although it looks like white is completely winning. It's basically, at this point I saw the end of the game, and I have to say, I got myself a little excited about the prospect. But it turns out that black still has a pretty incredible resource. All right, he plays f6, and I played a4. That's fine. Bishop f2, and I played b5. And at this point, he made the losing move. He moved his bishop again. But he needs to take the pawn. Right? And if takes, to play g5. So now his pawns are set up. Now I was thinking I'm just going to go knight a5 and I'm just going to go in and take the pawn and win, much like I did in the game. But he actually has an amazing way out. He can play king d6. He can go active. And this is one thing grandmasters learn about endgames, is they look for that opportunity to go for an active defense. Defending passively the whole time usually doesn't work, and it didn't work in this game.
Right.
But here this looks a little suicidal because I get his pawn. But here's an advantage of the bishop. The bishop can look at this pawn from a distance. So all I can do really at some point is push, and then he's going to sacrifice. But then my knight is going to be far away, and then he's going to run with his king to my pawns.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
It's like Eagle Eyes versus the teleporter.
What is that?
I don't know. It just so.
Just what's that in? Is that Minecraft or something?
No, I just thought of some random Street Fighter game.
Street Fighter,
Where
okay.
you'd have like Eagle Eye versus the teleporter.
That's
Fight!
That's great. I'm cutting your screen time now. Okay. So I looked. I went through this on the engine after the game. This is really fascinating. King d3. Okay. So b6. And now it almost looks like I'm losing, but the king rushes in. All right. So now if he takes the pawn on f3, I take this, and then I'm going to grab the H pawn, and I'm going to win with a rook pawn. By the way, rook pawn and knight win. Even if the king is sitting in front, I can chase. I can chase that away. I can show you that sometime if you want. But okay, it doesn't take the pawn on f3. It takes the pawn on h3. But then I take, and now it looks like I'm just in time because if he goes king g3, I can take, push. I can go knight g4 to stop him, and then I can defend everything. I can defend my knight and my pawn in one move, and then the e pawn is off to the races, and I win.
It's like Usain Bolt out there.
Usain Bolt, yeah, lightning bolt. But he has this resource. Now, of course, there's no way either of us could have anticipated this position, but he had to play this. This is his best chance. So g4. Okay, so I take, he takes. And now it looks like, okay, I'm just going to eat this pawn. But the problem is, I want to bring the knight back, but if I bring the knight back, then I lose my last pawn. I can't win, right? You can't checkmate with a knight, can you?
No, you cannot.
No, if you didn't know that, then we'd really have to go back to the basics.
I know that much.
You know that much. But the problem is that, if I take with the king, he plays h3. I can't stop his pawns. So he gets a draw like this. This would be a draw. Now, going all the way back to that position where he takes, I could try king takes. And, I would certainly still maintain some play here. I could, again, try to maneuver around and maybe penetrate with the king. So I wouldn't say this is a dead draw. But it probably would have taken with the pawn and gone for that and been very, very bitter if the game ended in a draw. Especially, after the stupid game I played before this where I blundered against Dmitry, So I would want one to come back in my column. But thankfully, Patrick did not find the defense, or maybe he didn't realize that he had to stay off of the square. And after bishop d4, I go knight a5, takes, and pawn takes. And now the thing is, this defense is no longer available because if he comes and go in, and the problem for black is that now this knight on c6, as we say in the business, it comes with tempo. Because I'm ready to take the bishop and push. So the bishop has to move, but now he's a tempo behind the variation. So he doesn't have time now.
Okay.
Right, because he was drawing by one move before, so he's definitely gonna.
Now he cannot try that.
He cannot try that. So he went in the corner, and I was very happy to see that because I had already seen how I was going to win the game. So yeah. So he cowers in the corner, and now comes my nice shot. Boom! But you say, isn't pawn protect? Well, check this out. You see what I'm doing there?
Boom!
Bishop b8. You think that's a good idea?
No.
No.
No, I do not.
The king is boxed in. It's in the coffin corner. Yeah. So he can't play bishop b8.
And now
so it means after
take the pawn.
after b6 he has to let me take the bishop. Now I was aware of the stalemate possibilities, but he just has too many pawn moves. So when he plays f5, I take, and okay, he can try to set up stalemate possibilities like that, but I'd probably just go here.
Yeah.
No more stalemate, and then I come and I start eating all the pawns like Pac-Man.
No.
You ever see Pac-Man?
Yes.
Yeah. Back in the 80s, yeah. Good stuff. So after b takes a7, I think he resigned after b takes a7 because it's I have liquidated into a winning pawn endgame. Yeah. I have done it successfully. So I managed to win that game, and then I won another knight versus bishop ending against Yermolinsky. I got a bit lucky in that game, I have to say. But those being good with my knights against the bishops, it enabled me to become U.S. senior champion. It was pretty cool thing. Yeah. So you're going to appreciate your knights from now on, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. Can't wait to show you some more chess next time.
Yep.
All right.
Can't wait.